So we've lost it. So Paul is saying one thing, and we're calling it law. Jesus is giving us two commandments, and he even calls them commandments. He says two commandments: love God with all your heart, and to love your fellow man, love your neighbor as yourself. And we don't do that. And so Paul's words were law, and Jesus' words were just suggestions that we don't have to follow and that we're still okay. This is where we're at. We can't even come, we're not even as fortunate as the children of Israel to be standing before Joshua and being asked to make a choice, because we don't even see that the choice that we've already made is in error. And we've justified our errors, we've justified our hates, we've justified our exploitations, because we idolize those which we call the founding fathers, not just of this nation, but even in the religion that we have embraced. We have bypassed it, the original founding fathers of Christianity, you know, those people of color over there, and ganked it through Europe and embraced these as our founding fathers, not even considering the evil and the wickedness that historically we know for a fact that we are even living descendants of and examples of. The antichristedness, the wickedness and the evilness of the founding fathers from the European version of Christianity and even this nation. Now from a nation's perspective, it's fine. This is what nations do. This is how nations are born, by conquering another people, by taking what's not theirs. This is how they grow. That's okay. But as believers, we need to recognize or ask ourselves, have we bought into the gods of the inhabitants in whose land we dwell? That's the question. So we opened up with President Obama talking about this mosque then, that he believes should be allowed to be planted close to ground zero. And people were up in arms. That's all well and good. But Christians, don't be up in arms. Begin to express the love of God. And in all honesty, void of hypocrisy, recognize the genocide that this nation, that you have prospered from, was built on a foundation of genocides. Was built on a foundation of extermination of other peoples. Was built on a foundation of enslaving other people. Which is okay for Caesar, but it's not okay for believers. Recognize that. That God doesn't see Americans and Muslims and Christians and Indians and Hindus and Buddhists and whatever, Chinese and Russians and Philippines and Koreans and Japanese, and we are people, we are human beings. And we don't expect Caesar to see this. We don't expect those who are unbelievers to see this. But if you truly have the Spirit of God in you, and that's a big if for some of us. Because we would think we would be exempting. We are so quick to say, you know, you can tell a tree by the fruit that it bears. You know, we're so quick to go there. But what kind of fruit are we bearing? I'm saying, man, we just need to begin to reevaluate and reassess what it is that we've really bought into. And is God about the religion, or is God about Jesus? And is Jesus about our individual religions and particular preferences and determinations and interpretations? Or is there a real relationship with the Creator, the source of all things, that has been made a way for all of us? Simply that. And to me, if you have a creator of all humanity, and offering humanity a way that humanity can be made well in the eyes of the Creator, then that's love. Then who in the creation does the Creator not love? And so as we each have particularly by our own interpretation, by our own understanding, or what we've chosen to buy into, believe that, no, we're okay with the Creator of all and nobody else is. Consider kids on a playground, believing that they got it right and nobody else, and the teacher likes them and nobody else. Children. We were once children. We're supposed to be grown now. We're supposed to be coming into an understanding, a recognition of what it is that God is about. And if you just use love as the litmus test, love for all of humanity as a litmus test, and this litmus test, put it on you. Put it on your heart. Do I love folks no matter what color they are, no matter what religion they are, no matter what sexual preference they are? Not that I embrace them, not that I believe that they're doing what I think is right, not that at all, but do I love them like... Do you think when Jesus laid down his life, he agreed with everything that everybody was doing that he was laying his life down for? When God loved humanity, do you think that God embraced and accepted and agreed with the lifestyles of everybody he sent Jesus to die for? Of course not. Now, are you a disciple of Jesus or not? That's the question. Choose ye this day. And you know what? It's okay if you're not, because you don't have to be. But that's the question. We need to quit calling ourselves Christians if we're not walking after the teachings of Christ. If we're not walking in the love of Christ, we need to stop calling ourselves Christians. That ain't Jesus. We're not representing Jesus at all. And what is this mosque? This mosque is a religious... I don't think it's a mosque anyway. I think it's a cultural center. But I remember that guy, Timothy McVeigh, when he bombed that Oklahoma City, whatever, that federal building, years ago. I'm sure if you checked his roots, he comes from a Christian background. Do we no longer build churches anywhere because of Timothy McVeigh, or because of the KKK, which call themselves Christians? The guy recently that was going back to Israel, that had stabbed a lot of black folks, you know, predominantly, and he was trying to get back to Israel. Should we, and those black folks were American citizens, should we not allow synagogues to be built in any city that one of those American citizens was stabbed in by this Jewish guy, or Jewish-leaning guy? And we need to ask ourselves these questions. How hypocritical are we being? And are we really being disciples of Jesus? And I'm just putting it out there. We're not. Unless we can come to a place where we can begin to tear down all of the buildings and all of the churches and places of worship that represent what genocided, what killed the inhabitants of this land, the Native Americans, can we rid ourselves of all that? What hypocrisy. We talk even about the insensitivity of the Muslims, yet we are the first to be insensitive about anybody else. I mean, you know, you got African Americans that have suffered tremendously at the hand of a lot of so-called Christians, even in modern times, right? You know that. Come on now. You got the gay folks; those are Americans as well, but they have suffered at the hands, at the voices, and the protesting of so many so-called Christians as well. These are Americans. We have those American soldiers that perished in other lands, in Iraq and Afghanistan, have come back to be buried, and Christians have been gleeful at the funeral procession of their grieving families. What's insensitive about? What does that mean? Christians are the most insensitive people to anyone that doesn't believe what they embrace. Yet when somebody wants to build a Muslim cultural center close to ground zero, we talk about, oh, how insensitive it is. And look at the history of the Euro-Christian religion and the descendants of those in this nation. You want to talk about insensitivity? You want to talk about murder? You want to talk about genocide? Come on now.